Yes, ma'am.
So, good afternoon, everyone who has joined us from India, and good morning or good evening to those who have joined us from around the world, as usual. And welcome to this session, one more session of CoHaB IDC's lecture series, which has now, thanks to the pandemic and the lockdown, gone online. So we are very happy to welcome everyone. And this particular talk that we have got for you this afternoon by Indian Standard Time is a slightly different one in the sense that the topic is the diaspora, and we are looking at diaspora films made in India by Indians on the diaspora, that is. But it's a musical presentation because we are very fortunate that our speaker today is not just a researcher, but she's also a performing artist. She's a singer, she's a trained singer, and she will be making a musical presentation today. We are also very fortunate to have as the chair of this session, Professor Anisur Rehman, who was the former head of the English department at the Jamia Millia University. He's also an Urdu scholar and has done several translations of Urdu poetry into English. And so we have a trained ear for the lyrics, at least, because at least till very lately, Hindi cinema, Bollywood cinema had great poets, had great Urdu poets who wrote the lyrics, who wrote the words of the songs of these films. So maybe Anis can enlighten us on that. Professor Anisur Rehman can enlighten us on that. And we have Professor Anis is a good old friend of CoHaB IDC, so I will not spend more time in introducing him. I will just say that we are very happy to have Feroz Navroji. We are very happy to have our partner university Professor Klaus Stierstroffer, who has also been with us for all the seminars, webinars that we have been doing online right from June or July last year. And we have got several very, very loyal people in the audience who have also been with us right from the beginning. We have our old CoHaB researchers, Yulia, we have got Jaina, they have joined us from Romania, they have joined us from Germany. We have got professors, there is Annika McPherson, who has also joined us from Germany. We have got Kathy from Dusseldorf, who has been another loyal old student of ours from Germany. So we have got several people, and we will be hearing from them during the chit chat. So during the Q&A, not just the chit chat. So I will now, and of course there is Kirti, without whom none of these webinars would have been held. She has held us all together, and she has liaised with the university's computer center. And of course, we have had a lot of support from the university itself, the University of Mumbai itself, including a vice chancellor. So we are in a very fortunate position to have carried on with these webinars for almost a year now. So may I request Professor Anisur Rehman to take over the proceedings as the chair of today's lecture and speak and give us his remarks. And I also request him to formally introduce our speaker, Nihaarika Sinha.
Thank you. Thank you, my dear old friend, Professor Nilofer Bharucha. It has been a pleasure being with CoHaB every time. And I've been looking at its movement, if I could say movement, because the way you have been into diaspora, or especially the Indian diaspora, and researching into it, that gives us lots of hope in this particular area of studies that has been very dear to us in the academic world. Friends, the CoHaB series of events on Indian diaspora brings to you today a different kind of a program. We have been talking about various aspects of the Indian diaspora as such, but today we are going to have a different program in the sense that it has some performance. You have some songs that she will be singing. I'm just going to introduce the speaker to you, and she will also be speaking to you about the whole idea and how it has been reflected in the Indian songs, especially the film songs. But before that happens, let me briefly introduce today's main speaker and performer, I would say, Nihaarika Sinha. For me, it is a personal pleasure because I have known Ms. Nihaarika Sinha for quite some time now, if I could say. And she has been a dear friend, apart from one who has also helped me understand music to a certain extent. Is there anyone who doesn't like music or doesn't show interest in music? Everyone is like that. But once I made contact with Nihaarika Sinha, I really got into it and how she has been developing all these years. So it has been pleasure knowing you, Nihaarika, and it is a greater pleasure to be with you on this platform today, to be able to introduce you to to the audience here, those who are present with us this afternoon in India and elsewhere. I don't know where people from all over have joined, so there are different time zones for you, but this is afternoon here in India. So welcome to you this afternoon, friends. To introduce her formally, Nihaarika Sinha, to introduce her formally, I would say that she's the founder director of Sadhana School of Music. She has been into music for a long time now, as her biodata says. She conducts courses in Hindustani vocal music, and she has quite a few of her, say, shishyas, I would say, that she has been training all these years. And she has also been trained by some of the great music masters of our times, especially belonging to the area to which she belongs. She's a Sangeet Visharada in Hindustani classical music from Patkanda Sangeet Shiksha Peeth of Lucknow, which is a well-known institution for teaching students in the area of music. She has been trained by Srimati Shashikala Kakevi and learned light classical music from a major Thumri exponent, Padma Bhushan Srimati Shobha Gurtu. Lots of people who have come together to teach her, to train her, and to see her emerge as a wonderful singer and a performer. And that is how she has been able to make this journey, to enter into it, to make her place and to make that place with certain amount of distinction, I must say. She got her voice training from various sources, one of them being Pandit Satyanarayan Mishra ji. Currently, she is receiving her guidance from Anup Jalota ji in the area of bhajan singing, especially. We all know about Anup Jalota ji, who has been an exponent and a very major singer in the area of bhajan singing. And she has learned it from them. I've had certain occasions of listening to her bhajans and I've greatly appreciated, and that's why it's pleasure for me to be able to introduce Nihaarika ji this morning. Also, she got her voice training from the classical vocalist Ustad Maqbool Hussain ji. And Maqbool Hussain ji is another, he has given her another way of looking at it and how the voice can be modulated, and she can bring it to use in the areas that she sings, especially the music, the various kinds of music that she engages with. She's also being trained, she's been trained by various hands and by various people of different kinds of talents. And that is why I see that in Nihaarika Sinha, there is a combination of voices, combination of influences. Influences, though not a good word, but I use here in a very positive sense, that she has accepted influences, accepted say impacts, if I could say another word, use another word and say that she has learned from various sources. So she has opened her doors and windows for influences or for winds to blow in from various sides. And that is how she has matured through years. And that is how she's still on the journey and trying to move from one milestone to another. She's also being trained, as I said, by Videshi Vidushi Dhanashri Pandit Rai ji and Dr. Shailesh Srivastava ji for the classical and the folk, who are well-known classical and folk singers. Nihaarika ji has also been a live performer on a stage, and she has been a versatile singer. She has sung across various genres of light music. She has sung film songs, devotional compositions, ghazals, and other songs. Presented papers on Bollywood music, international conferences, because she has been very closely associated with all that, and that's why it's in her blood, and she knows that very, very well. And she's at the same time, and I would say that she combines two qualities as of now. On the one hand, she's a learner. On the other hand, she's a great practitioner of that, whatever she has learned. So she has emerged very, very well. And I greatly appreciate the way she has emerged. The kind of devotion that he has shown all through in learning as well as in rendering all those learnings to us through music. Nihaarika has also been an AIR All India Radio graded artist and has performed there as well. Has an album dedicated to Lord Ganesha, and that has been released by Venus Worldwide Music, which has been received very well. She has also sung for Dharma Productions film called Humpty Dumpty Sharma Ki Dulhaniya and Mukta Prava, and recorded bhajans for Wings Music. Of late, she has also been into ghazals, which is a very distinct quality that she has, and shown her talent in that also. That has been released as Hazaro Khwahishe, the Ghazals of Ghalib, and has been released by Red Ribbon Music. Three of them are there on the YouTube also, and you can listen and go to that. And she has also her links that you can go to, and then you can enjoy more of it. Especially when she was doing her ghazals, I found that she was trying to understand every bit of it. And I was very happy working with her, not working in the sense that she renders on the stage or in music, but to talk to her about what ghazal was and what ghalib was, and how could one sing ghazal, and especially how could one sing ghalib, who is so very well known in the Urdu as well as the other literary circles. Huge following of Ghalib as a poet, and huge following of Ghalib as one who has composed for as if, I would say, as if for the singers. So she has selected some of the most popular ghazals of Ghalib that has have great impact on the listeners all through. And it was a pleasure for me to be able to write for her and to be able to let her show her talent in the ghazal singing, especially of Ghalib. That has come up very well. Her introduction is not as important as her performance is. So in fact, I do not want to waste any time, but give all the time to Nihaarika. Today, it is her day. It is her afternoon. We are her listeners, going to be her listeners. So it's all yours, Nihaarika, for you. And we are very, curious to learn from you, to listen to you. And after that, we shall have some questions and answers. Q&A will, of course, follow. And friends will, of course, come, and together we will join hands to understand this whole genre, the various genres that she has been trying to engage with and trying to perform there. So you are most welcome, Nihaarika. Friends who are there in this on this platform today, I invite your attention. Listen to her, and you will enjoy yourself during the course that she does this. Thank you very much, Nihaarika. It's yours now. The time is yours, all yours.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, namaste to all those who have joined in from various parts of the world. I thank Dr. Bharucha, the director of CoHaB Indian Diaspora Center, University of Mumbai, for inviting me for this talk. And I must say a big thank you to Dr. Anisur Rehmanji for the warm introduction and setting the tone for this presentation. I will now start my presentation. I have called it The Pull of the Homeland in the Music of Bollywood Films on the Indian Diaspora. Home is an emotional construct in Bollywood music and incorporates different kinds of emotions, ranging from that of the young bride leaving her father's home, that is the Babul or Mecca, to a young wife's adjustment in her new marital home, the Sasural. There is also the emotion attached to a young couple who is setting up home for the first time and casting anchor, which is the Gharanda. Then there's also the love and affection within the family, which creates an emotional home, which is not made out of brick and mortar. There are also songs which lament the breakup of the family home, when the family is either driven away by economic or personal problems. There are also film songs in which the nation is seen as home. And these allegorical songs, therefore, have a wider meaning than just the personal, and they are highly charged with emotion. So we have various types of homes: Babul, Mecca, Sasural, Gharanda, an emotional home, then the nation. In the context of this presentation, I will focus on the manner in which Bollywood film music has treated this concept in films on the Indian diaspora. Now we must note at this point that in Bollywood music, the lyrics and the musical score, they are inextricably intertwined. You cannot separate them, the lyrics and the music. So when one speaks of Bollywood film music, one is also speaking about the music and of the lyrics. So while the focus of this talk will be on the lyrics, there will also be an inevitable drawing in of the musical score and the kinds of instruments which have been used for that particular song to convey the emotions in that song, which in context of films on the Indian diaspora is almost always allegorically and not just the actual home which was left behind, but India itself. Now over here, firstly, I would like to briefly comment on the word Bollywood, which I have used in my title and in my presentation before I go any further. Beginning with the 1990s, the economic globalization in India has begun to be reflected in Hindi cinema, which at that time began to define itself with the tag Bollywood. Earlier, the term Bollywood had not been acceptable in Hindi cinema, as it was seen to be not just pejorative but indicative of plagiarization of Hollywood. But from the 1990s, though the Hindi cinema has embraced Bollywood, as have serious film critics around the world, also there are some who still prefer to refer to it as Hindi films being made in Mumbai as Hindi cinema, whereas some refer to it as Bollywood. The tag Bollywood is also symptomatic of the kind of films being made in Hindi today. The films which portray the Okay, I spoke about the tag of Bollywood and the kinds of films which premiere not only in Mumbai or London, but even in Germany. So I was mentioning about the film My Name is Khan. These kind of films, we can call them as crossover films, which have an appeal for not just Indian audiences or even the Indian diaspora, but also for people of other nationalities. And not just the usual fans of Bollywood who are the Arabs or Russians, but even the Germans and the French. Now, with reference to the films on the Indian diaspora, it's not just in the 1990s that Bollywood has begun to take notice of the phenomenon of people of Indian origins living abroad, because they have constituted an important market for Indian films. But when in the past Hindi films depicted Indians who lived abroad, either the diasporics who had settled in England during or after the colonial period, or the more recent NRIs, the non-resident Indians, who still carried Indian passport, the tone used to be fairly moralistic and at times even disapproving. Here I'm referring to the 1970 film Purab aur Paschim, where everything Indian was good and everything Western was bad. This film had the actor Manoj Kumar singing the praises of India in a decadent London, with the Indian diasporics lounging around, drinking and smoking, the ultimate sign of moral decadence. Now, here I will refer to this song which he was singing in the film, saying, "है प्रीत जहाँ की रीत सदा, मैं गीत वहाँ के गाता हूँ, भारत का रहने वाला हूँ, भारत की बात सुनाता हूँ." The music director of this song was the legendary Kalyanji Anandji, whom I had the good fortune of interacting with him for a few months, and I learned a few things from him. And the singer of this song was Mahendra Kapoor, who was one of the iconic singers of Bollywood. Song would be that this place, India, is a place where love has always been the culture. है प्रीत जहाँ की रीत सदा, मैं गीत वहाँ के गाता हूँ. I'm singing songs of such a place where love has always been the culture, and भारत का रहने वाला हूँ, भारत की बात सुनाता हूँ. I live in India, and I'm going to tell you the story of
Nihaarika, your voice is...
Yeah, okay. The song is है प्रीत जहाँ की रीत सदा, मैं गीत वहाँ के गाता हूँ, भारत का रहने वाला हूँ, भारत की बात सुनाता हूँ. Where love is a way of life. I'm singing a song of the place where love is a way of life, and भारत का रहने वाला हूँ. I stay in India, Bharat, and भारत की बात सुनाता हूँ. I'm going to say the story of India, how the Indians are. So I'll just sing a few lines of this song. है प्रीत जहाँ की रीत सदा, है प्रीत जहाँ की रीत सदा, मैं गीत वहाँ के गाता हूँ। भारत का रहने वाला हूँ, भारत की बात सुनाता हूँ। है प्रीत जहाँ की रीत सदा, मैं गीत वहाँ के गाता हूँ। भारत का रहने वाला हूँ, भारत की बात सुनाता हूँ। काले गोरे का भेद नहीं, हर दिल से हमारा नाता है। कुछ और ना आता हो हमको, हमें प्यार निभाना आता है। जिसे मान चुकी सारी दुनिया, जिसे मान चुकी सारी दुनिया, मैं बात वही दोहराता हूँ। भारत का रहने वाला हूँ, भारत की बात सुनाता हूँ। जीते हो किसी ने देश तो क्या, हमने तो दिलों को जीता है। जहाँ राम अभी तक है नर में, नारी में अभी तक सीता है। इतने पावन है लोग जहाँ, जितने पावन है लोग जहाँ, मैं नित नित शीश झुकाता हूँ। भारत का रहने वाला हूँ, भारत की बात सुनाता हूँ। है प्रीत जहाँ की रीत सदा। So that was the song है प्रीत जहाँ की रीत सदा. However, before I move further and seeing how India, the original homeland, is reflected in such songs, I'm going to give in to the temptation of referring to a much older film and song which has haunted the history of Indian film music from the 1960s onwards. This song is from the 1961 film Kabuliwala. Is to my mind a very important song as it depicts all the love and nostalgia for the homeland that we find in the other much more recent songs I'm going to talk about. The diasporic person in this film is not an Indian in a Western diaspora, but a Pathan from Afghanistan in an Indian diaspora, who sings with deep pathos about the homeland he has left behind and thereby symbolizes all the love and longing that a person in diaspora might feel for his lost homeland. Of course, here one might question whether Pathans are in a diaspora in India or merely working here. But then there are many different kinds of diasporas, and a diaspora in which the Pathans came to India and not just worked here, but even have settled here for generations is also a diaspora to my mind at least. In any case, here is that lovely song sung by Manna De with lyrics by Prem Dhawan and the music director being Salil Chaudhary. The musical instrument here is the traditional instrument rabab, which is used in the classical music of Afghanistan. This, of course, gives the song a touch of the lost home left behind by the Pathan who has come to seek his livelihood in India. I'm also aware that I'm taking on a huge challenge by trying to sing this song that Manna De has immortalized with his unique vocal style and mellifluous voice. The lyrics of the song are "ऐ मेरे वतन, ऐ मेरे प्यारे वतन, ऐ मेरे बिछड़े चमन, तुझ पे दिल कुर्बान। तू ही मेरी आरज़ू, तू ही मेरी आबरू, तू ही मेरी जान." That, oh my dearest homeland, ऐ मेरे बिछड़े चमन, oh my lost garden, तुझ पे दिल कुर्बान, I'm sacrificing my heart, my life for you. तू ही मेरी आरज़ू, you are my only desire. तू ही मेरी आबरू, you are my honor and you are my life. तू ही मेरी जान. I'll just make a attempt to sing this very great song. It will only be an attempt. प्यारे वतन है मेरे बिछड़े चमन, तुझ पे दिल कुर्बान। ए मेरे प्यारे वतन है मेरे बिछड़े चमन, तुझ पे दिल कुर्बान। तू ही मेरी आरज़ू, तू ही मेरी आबरू, तू ही मेरी जान। है मेरे प्यारे वतन है मेरे बिछड़े चमन, तुझ पे दिल कुर्बान। तेरे दामन से जो आए उन हवाओं को सलाम, चूम लूं मैं उस जुबां को जिस पे आए तेरा नाम। तेरे दामन से जो आए उन हवाओं को सलाम, चूम लूं मैं उस जुबां को जिस पे आए तेरा नाम। सबसे प्यारी सुबह तेरी, सबसे रंगे तेरी शाम, तुझ पे दिल कुर्बान। छोड़ कर तेरी ज़मीं को दूर आ पहुँचे हैं हम, फिर भी है यही तमन्ना तेरे ज़र्रों की कसम। हम जहाँ पैदा हुए उस जगह पे ही निकले दम, तुझ पे दिल कुर्बान। तू ही मेरी आरज़ू, तू ही मेरी आबरू, तू ही मेरी जान। है मेरे प्यारे वतन है मेरे बिछड़े चमन, तुझ पे दिल कुर्बान। Coming to the Indian diaspora and its depiction in more recent times, I would like to start with the 1995 film Dilwale Dulhaniya Le Jayenge. Here we have the Indian diaspora in Britain. These are the people who had gone to the UK in the 1950s and 60s after the end of colonization and the Second World War. They worked over there in factories, or like the character played by Amrish Puri, who started their own little shops, which came to be known as the corner Indian shops, which opened early and closed late, and were also open on Sundays and holidays when other shops run by the white British remained closed. The family headed by Amrish Puri symbolizes all the values cherished by such families who, although they have lived in Britain for a long time, cling to Indian values and ethics, especially with reference to their daughters. Here, of course, is also the question of how the second generation in such families have to deal with leading double lives, Indian at home and British outside the home. So we have Simran and her younger sister being perfect British teenagers who dance to the contemporary Western music till they hear their father coming home, and then they switch on to old Hindi film songs. I would at this juncture wish to bring in the song that Amrish Puri sings about the homeland he has left behind as he feeds the pigeons in London's Trafalgar Square. So while physically in London, in his mind, he is in his beloved Punjab with romantic, nostalgic images of the yellow mustard fields and the girls dancing and singing there. And in the song they sing, they call him back home. This is a pull of the homeland on the heartstrings of the diasporic Indian. The song I'll be singing was written by Anand Bakshi and has music by Jatin Lalit. The song is Ghar Aaja Pardesi Tera Des Bulaye Re. That please come home, O person who has left the homeland, please come home. Your country is beckoning you, is calling you. Come home, O foreigner, your country calls you. O बागों में झूलों के मौसम वापस आए रे. All the gardens have once again started. There's a season of spring which is happening. Please come back home again. घर आजा परदेसी तेरा देश बुलाए रे. Come home, O foreigner, your country calls you. Then he also writes that इस गांव की अनपढ़ मिट्टी पढ़ नहीं सकती तेरी चिट्ठी. This illiterate village soil cannot read your letter, but if you come and kiss the soil, then the earth will welcome you, and all the khet lehlaha rahe hain. The spring season is here, so you must return back to India. She'll sing a few lines of the song. कोयल कूके हुक उठाए, यादों की बंदूक चलाए. कोयल कूके हुक उठाए, यादों की बंदूक चलाए. बागों में झूलों के मौसम वापस आए रे. घर आजा परदेसी तेरा देश बुलाए रे. घर आजा परदेसी तेरा देश बुलाए रे. वो कोयल कूके हुक उठाए, यादों के बंदूक चलाए. बागों में झूलों के मौसम वापस आए रे. घर आजा परदेसी तेरा देश बुलाए रे. इस गांव की अनपढ़ मिट्टी पढ़ नहीं सकती तेरी चिट्ठी. ये मिट्टी तू आकर चूमे तो इस धरती का दिल झूमे. माना तेरे हैं कुछ सपने, पर हम तो है तेरे अपने. भूलने वाले हमको तेरी याद सताए रे. घर आजा परदेसी तेरा देश बुलाए रे. घर आजा परदेसी तेरा देश बुलाए रे. हाथों में पूजा की थाली, आई रात सुहागों वाली. ओ चांद को देखो, हाथ में जोड़ो, करवा चौथ का व्रत में तोड़ो. तेरे हाथों से पीकर पानी, दासी से बन जाऊं रानी. आज की रात को जो मांगे कोई वो पा जाए रे. घर आजा परदेसी तेरा देश बुलाए रे. घर आजा परदेसी तेरा देश बुलाए रे. Before I take up another recent film and the depiction of India home in it, I would like to refer to another song in which the diasporic Indian is moved to tears at what must be happening to his home, his family, his loved ones, whom he has left behind in India in search of livelihood abroad. This song was sung by Pankaj Udhas in the 1986 film Naam. The lyrics were by Anand Bakshi and the music was that of Lakshmikant Pyarelal. The song is चिट्ठी आई है वतन से चिट्ठी आई है. A letter has come from my homeland. बड़े दिनों के बाद हम बेवतनों को याद. After many days, we the people who are away from our homeland, वतन की मिट्टी आई है. Means the letter which has come from abroad is reminding me of my soil, of my homeland. I'll once again sing a few lines. चिट्ठी आई है चिट्ठी आई है. चिट्ठी आई है वतन से, चिट्ठी आई है, बड़े दिनों के बाद हम बेवतनों को याद, बड़े दिनों के बाद हम बेवतनों को याद, वतन की मिट्टी आई है, चिट्ठी आई है, चिट्ठी आई है, चिट्ठी आई है, चिट्ठी आई है वतन से, चिट्ठी आई है। ऊपर मेरा नाम लिखा है, अंदर ये पैगाम लिखा है, ऊपर देश को जाने वाले लौट के फिर ना आने वाले, सात समंदर पार गया तो हमको जिंदा मार गया तो, खून के रिश्ते तोड़ गया तो, आँख में आंसू छोड़ गया तो, कम खाते हैं कम सोते हैं, बहुत ज्यादा हम रोते हैं, चिट्ठी आई है, चिट्ठी आई है, चिट्ठी आई है, चिट्ठी आई है वतन से, चिट्ठी आई है। Another film focused on the Indian diaspora is the 2004 film Swades. Here is a depiction of the return home phenomenon, where the diasporic Indian returns home to India in a mood of idealism and, of course, nostalgia. One of the most important songs in this film here is Ye Jo Desh Hai Tera, Swades Hai Tera. Over here, the lyrics are by Javed Akhtar and the music is by A.R. Rahman. ये जो देश है तेरा, स्वदेश है तेरा, this country of yours, this homeland, motherland of yours calls out to you, तुझे है पुकारा, ये वो बंधन है जो कभी टूट नहीं सकता, this is such an unbreakable bond, a bond which is never going to break, so your country is calling you, beckoning you, मिट्टी की है जो खुशबू तो कैसे भुलाएगा, how can you ever forget the scent of the earth of your homeland, चाहे कहीं जाए तो लौट के आएगा, wherever you will go, you will definitely return back. I shall once again make an attempt to sing this very difficult composition by Rahman Sahab. ये जो देश है तेरा, स्वदेश है तेरा, तुझे है पुकारा, ये वो बंधन है जो कभी टूट नहीं सकता, ये जो देश है तेरा, स्वदेश है तेरा, तुझे है पुकारा, ये वो बंधन है जो कभी टूट नहीं सकता, मिट्टी की है जो खुशबू तू कैसे भुलाएगा, तू चाहे कहीं जाए तू लौट के आएगा, नई नई राहों में, दबी दबी आहों में, खोए खोए दिल से तेरे कोई ये कहेगा, ये जो देश है तेरा, स्वदेश है तेरा,
तुझे है पुकारा, ये जो बंधन है जो कभी टूट नहीं सकता, ये जो देश है तेरा स्वदेश है तेरा।
The other song I would like to speak about and sing from this film is the one in which the returning diasporic hears this typical Indian girl singing this song with folk tune and words, which to him symbolically conveys everything about the values and the ethics and the lovability of this homeland. I thus see this song as one where the diasporic links it to his beloved country about whom he is quite crazy. The music director is once again Rahman Saab and the lyrics are by Javed Akhtar. So this song is Savariya Savariya, Main To Hui Bawariya, my love, I have become completely mad, Tune Man Moh Liya, Savariya Savariya. I have gone completely crazy about you and you have won over my heart. तूने मन मोह लिया, उलझा सा ये मन है, सुलगा सा ये तन है, my heart is confused and my body is on fire. छलके मन गागरिया सावरिया सावरिया.
सावरिया सावरिया, मैं तो हुई बावरिया, तूने मन मोह लिया, सावरिया हो, सावरिया सावरिया, मैं तो हुई बावरिया, तूने मन मोह लिया, सावरिया हो, उलझा सा ये मन है, सुलगा सा ये तन है, सपनों का सावन है, नैनों का आंगन है, छलके मन सावरिया हो, सावरिया हो, सावरिया सावरिया, मैं तो हुई बावरिया, तूने मन मोह लिया, सावरिया हो.
Moving on, another important Bollywood film focused on the Indian diaspora is the 2001 film Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gham. Here, once again, the India recalled in diaspora is one which is full of family values, good morals. This is the film which was very successful in European countries like France and Germany, and which also added to the creation of the Shah Rukh Khan mania in these countries. In this film, the elders in the family inculcate the right values in their children, and thus they keep the old homeland alive in the new country. Pardes, released in 1997, is another film which is about the Indian diaspora and their reactions to India. Here we also find the custom among the diaspora to going back to the old homeland in search of brides for their sons, as also Indian girls would have the kind of morals and the family values that they still cherish even after generations of being away from the homeland. In the song that I shall sing from this film, we also have the symbolic joining together of the bride who's being sought after and the country, the homeland itself, which is the bride. Of course, this is not the first song to have symbolized the homeland as a bride, because even earlier, Manoj Kumar in his film Purab aur Paschim, there was a song that said, Dulhan chali, oh behan chali, teen rang ki choli, baahon mein lehraye Ganga Jamuna, dekh ke duniya doli, in which teen rang ki choli was our national flag. So these sort of things were referred to earlier too. Now the Pardes song which I'm going to refer to just now is Ye Duniya Ek Dulhan Ke Mathe Ki Bindiya. Ye Duniya Ek Dulhan Ke Mathe Ki Bindiya, Ye Mera India. My India is like a bride on whose forehead there's a bindiya, or there's this red tika which the Indians keep on their forehead. So this song depicts that. I shall sing a few lines of this song. The music was by Nadeem Shravan and the lyrics were written by Anand Bakshi.
ये दुनिया एक दुल्हन, ये दुनिया एक दुल्हन, दुल्हन के माथे की बिंदिया। I love my India, ये मेरा इंडिया। I love my India, ये मेरा इंडिया। जब छेड़ा मल्हार के सीने, झूम के सावन आया। आग लगा दी पानी में, जब दीपक राग सुनाया। सात सुरों का संगम, ये जीवन गीतों की माला। हम अपने भगवान को भी कहते हैं बांसुरी वाला, बांसुरी वाला। I love my India, ये मेरा इंडिया। Another recent Bollywood film song about the longing for the homeland is from the 2018 spy thriller Razi, Willing. This is not a diasporic film in the strict sense of the term, but it's a true story adapted from Harinder Sikka's 2008 novel Calling Sehmat, a true account of an Indian research and analysis wing raw agent who, upon her father's request, is married into a family of military officials in Pakistan to relay information in India prior to the Indo-Pakistani War of 1971. Sehmat fulfills her duties, but the cost is very high. Her husband is killed, and she returns to India with her unborn child. The song I've chosen from this film is "Ae Watan," sung by Arijit Singh, male version, and Sunidhi Chauhan, the female version, written by Gulzar Saab, and the music directors of this are Shankar Ehsan Loy. Ironically, the female version of this beautiful song also contains the lyrics of Allama Iqbal's Dua, Lab Pe Aati Hai Dua. That is the national prayer of Pakistan sung during school assemblies. This song thus represents the tragedy of political divisions where the beloved homeland, Watan of the husband, is the secret enemy of his wife. "Ae Watan, Watan mere, आबाद रहे तू." O country, may you live for long. मैं जहाँ रहूं, जहाँ में याद रहे तू. O country, may you live long wherever I am. May you always be there in my memory. ए वतन वतन मेरे आबाद रहे तू, ए वतन वतन मेरे आबाद रहे तू। मैं जहाँ रहूं, जहाँ में याद रहे तू। ए वतन मेरे वतन, ए वतन वतन मेरे आबाद रहे तू। मैं जहाँ रहूं, जहाँ में याद रहे तू। ए वतन मेरे वतन, तू ही मेरी मंजिल है, पहचान तुझी से। तू ही मेरी मंजिल है, पहचान तुझी से। पहुंचूं मैं जहां भी मेरी बुनियाद रहे तू। पहुंचूं मैं जहां भी मेरी बुनियाद रहे तू। ए वतन मेरे वतन, ए वतन वतन मेरे आबाद रहे तू। मैं जहाँ रहूं, जहाँ में याद रहे तू। ए वतन लब पे आती है दुआ बन के तमन्ना मेरी। जिंदा जिंदगी शम्मा की सूरत हो खुदाया मेरी। जिंदगी शम्मा की सूरत हो खुदाया मेरी। ए वतन वतन मेरे आबाद रहे तू। मैं जहाँ रहूं जहाँ में याद रहे तू, ऐ वतन मेरे वतन। It will be very apt here to quote Maithili Rao's comment on diasporic Indians. For the earning NRIs all over the globe, the Hindi film is the umbilical cord that anchors them to their past, to Indian culture and its norms. This paper is about songs from Bollywood films on India on the subject of the homeland as seen from the diaspora. But there are such songs in other Indian language films too. As we are in Amchi, Mumbai, I would like to bring in a Marathi song on this subject by Veer Savarkar. Veer Savarkar, as you know, was an Indian revolutionary and a politician. And besides that, he was also a poet who wrote numerous Marathi poems. Due to his revolutionary activities, he was sentenced 50 years of rigorous imprisonment at the Andaman Nicobar Islands. This song, which I'm going to sing, was written by him when, due to his revolutionary activities against the British, he had to take refuge in France. This song reflects his urge to return back to his homeland. ने मजसी ने परत मातृभूमीला सागरा प्राण तळमळला. O ocean, take me back to my motherland. My soul is in so much of torment, lapping worshipfully at my mother's feet. So always I saw you. भूमातेचा चरणा तले तुझ धुता मी नित्य पाहिला होता. ने मजसीने परत मातृभूमीला. O ocean, take me back to my motherland. It's a very beautiful composition by Sudhir Phadke and sung by the greatest singer of our country, Lata Mangeshkar ji. I shall make a very small attempt to try and sing this. नीमजसीने परत मातृभूमीला सागरा प्राण तळमळला तळमळला सागरा नीमजसीने परत मातृभूमीला सागरा प्राण तळमळला तळमळला सागरा भूमातेचा चरणतला तुझ धुता मी नित्य पाहिला होता मज बदलासी अन्य देशी चल जाओ सृष्टीची विविधता पाहू तय जननी विरह शंकित ही झाले परी तुवा वचन तिज तिथले मार्गज्ञ स्वय मीच पृष्ठीवाहीन त्वरितया परत आणीन विश्वसलोया तव वचनी मी जगदनुभव योगे बनुनी मी तवाधिक शक्ति ओथरणी मी येईन त्वरे कथुनी सोडिला तिचला सागरा प्राण तळमळला तळमळला सागरा सीते मातृभूमीला सागरा प्राण तळमळला तळमळला सागरा सागरा. I now end my presentation. Thank you all very much for joining me and listening to me.
We request Professor Rahman to really give us his little summation And Nihaarika can show her face now. She would. It's unfortunate we couldn't see her while she was
Yes.
singing. Professor Rehan, please. Before we open it up to the floor for
Right.
questions.
I think Kirti has taken note of the chat box and some questions if they are there. Can we go to the questions first? If
Okay.
there are observations or anything anyone has to make.
We don't have.
They haven't come so far.
Okay.
They might be
Among the participants, among the participants, if anyone would like.
So far, we've got nothing, but maybe they'll be coming on.
Okay, fine. But if among the participants, if anyone has to speak a word before I do, they are most welcome to do that.
If I might take the
Lead.
opportunity that you have given.
Please take the lead. Please take the lead.
I would just say that I think it's great that we heard this kind of a presentation, which included the actual music. And what struck me as I was listening to Nihaarika was how Bollywood cinema has, in a sense, completely appropriated the diasporic. He or she no longer belongs to the new homeland. Everything is obviously slanted towards the old homeland. So that kind of a hold over the diasporic, emotional, mental, it's there. The homeland is just holding on to the diasporic, not letting him go. And this also the the diasporic Indian is so much so much visible and so much in the consciousness. We have this diaspora consciousness today, as Avtar Bra calls it, and it's there in India. But the Hindi cinema had it even long before that. The diaspora consciousness, which the Indian government and the Indian economy is taking so much of an interest in today. So it's very interesting the way. And of course, the diasporic Indian is a huge market for Bollywood. That's my observation, Anis.
Thank you, Nilofer. I think other participants would join in, but let me just add that whenever I think of diaspora as a category of literary, sociological, historical, or cultural studies, I don't know, there is one song that comes to my mind quite often, and that is from a very old 1949 film, Patanga. You would remember that very famous song, which says by Shamshad Banu, I understand, if I remember right, मेरे पिया गए रंगून, किया है वहां से टेलीफोन, तुम्हारी याद सताती है, जिया में आग लगाती है. For those who couldn't understand what I said, let me translate. My love has gone to Rangoon, far off place. किया है वहां से telephone, and he has phoned me from there and says, तुम्हारी याद सताती है, that I always remember you, I pine for you. Jiya mein aag lagati hai, and burns me, no end. Now, this is a very interesting song. If you go to the lines after that, you will see that wonderful images of home appear there. And places are named, situations are named, emotions are tried to be identified. So it's a very interesting point of reference for me, has always been an interesting point of reference for me. Whenever I think of diaspora, or whenever I think of the Indian diaspora in particular. That was 1949. But films, especially the Bollywood films that caught up with this whole idea of to put it on the screen, it started in the 90s in a more important manner. Of course, there have been many in between, but very importantly, they came on the scene, or they came on the film celluloid in the 90s, so to say. So what I'm trying to make my point is this, that there are literary texts as far as diaspora is concerned. There are film texts as far as diaspora is concerned. And then today we have to come to realize that there are lyric texts also, film and lyric taken together, which take the issue of diaspora and in a very wonderful manner. Different representations of diaspora through films and through film songs have been made. Nihaarika made a very interesting point when she referred to lyric and the music, how they go together, and how they try to create kind of the reminiscences are there, and how we are taken back to that world of reminiscences. and how words become so emotionally charged that you become a part of the whole song that is sung on the screen or on the celluloid. So having thought of Patanga, 1949, which is 72 years old film now, and there are so many songs in that, but this is the most popular one. And it has earlier times, especially it has a dozen songs. So there are so many songs in that, but this is the most popular one, and it has stayed on and on. I have read that people of older generation remember this song very fondly, and they sing it. The old men of these days, they sing this song very well when they're in the mood of romancing with their beloveds, so-called beloveds, or the wives. Whenever there is a separation in their lives of 70 years or 80 years of age. But this was revived in the 90s in a very interesting manner with DDLJ, Dil Wale Dulhaniya Le Jayenge. I need not go into the details. Then comes Pardes in 1997. Then Kuch Kuch Hota Hai comes in 1998. Then Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gham comes in 2001. Then Kitne Dur Kitne Paas comes in 2002. Then Namaste London comes in 2007. See how during this period of time, how many filmmakers really are engaged with the idea of the Indian diaspora, because there is so much of migration taking place now. So Purabar Paschim was, of course, an earlier make. But then you have also other kinds of films like Bhaji on the Beach or Bride and Prejudice and Monsoon Wedding. Lots of films are there. Lots of drama serials are there. On the television screen, we have seen many dramas that relate with diaspora basically. And but in the films, you have the added advantage of listening to their emotions through songs. So Niharika was wonderfully well making a distinction between not only the song but the lyric as well as the music that go hand in hand together, and how they kind of create an impact on the viewer as well as the listener. So when you are in a film hall, you are a viewer as well as a listener, and you start partaking of the whole emotion, and that is what it makes. So after this, you have like for example in DDLJ, there is a very interesting song which is Gharaja Mein, Padesi Mera Tera Des Bulaye Re. Now, this is a modern rendering of the same emotions which is there in the earlier songs as well. Or I Love My India in Pardes, or you have Main Jahan Rahun in Namaste London. So there are so many kinds of representations that we have in the films through the heroes and the heroines and the whole kind of a social setup. A reference was also made to the market. I understand that those of us who live abroad within quotes, there is a market that they have created there of themselves. So the people, the residents, the NRIs, or those who have become the, the nationals. So there is a market of the Indians and the Asians there. And this market is cultural market as well. So in this cultural market, this kind of film and this kind of lyric is getting more and more popular day by day. So there is a crossover film also that Niharika talked about, which is a very important genre as such. Then she talked about the market that is there, and that market makes sense to us, especially when we go to the films. Because when you talk to an NRI or one who has got a nationality, I asked several of them, do you go to watch some of the Indian movies, either in the theater or there at your home? They said most of the time, yes, yes, because you cannot disengage at all. So maybe it's the storyline that holds their attention, maybe it's the lyric that holds their attention, or maybe it's the music that holds their attention. But whatever it is, in all the ways you would see, the diaspora, and that is what I say that CoHaB is doing a wonderful job by looking into it from various angles. So this is one new angle about which Niharika was talking today. There is a personal history involved in this, there is a communal history involved in this, and there is a national history involved in this. All those histories join hands together in order to create a kind of a representation that is a filmic representation and a lyric representation. That is why I said there are three kinds of representations. So you have a literary representation, you have a film representation or slash cultural representation, and you have the lyric representation. So through communal history, through personal history, or through national history that you come across. So histories are wedded together. So many histories compose and create a kind of a cosmos of which we are a part and with we try to belong and with we try to identify. Images of various kinds are there. And these images come to us through what? Come to us through history, through memory. And finally, this history and memory take us to create a kind of a myth. So actually, when we look at this whole business of diaspora and the celluloid, we are trying to create a myth of ourselves in a different situation. An Indian who has gone abroad, or an Indian who stays here and yet looks at or aspires for. And this whole idea, because this migration has taken place in our times much more in a much more prominent manner that it was ever was in the past. So this becomes much more relevant. And that is why I find this talk to be very relevant to the listeners and to those who would listen to the recording later, that I am sure that they would be able to understand one important facet of what this migration really means to us at cultural level and at the level of one's personal history and one personal memory or national memory. That is why I understand this lecture was very useful to us, because it opens up another aspect of the diaspora or the diasporic studies. Lots of literary studies have been made, no doubt. And I often have a sense that diaspora is, though not such a huge area of inquiry, this is what I all used to think earlier. But as I entered into it, I found that there are so many ways of looking at diaspora. This was one of the ways. So as the students of literature, we have been talking of diaspora in and outside the classrooms. There is so much of research on diaspora. CoHaB is an example of that. But if you look at it, I found later that this is not a small world. There's such a huge world to explore. And there is so much to explore that is left, that is still not done properly. There is so much to explore further from various angles, from the language of sociological angle, economic angle, political angle, literary angle, cultural angle. And in culture, so many things are there. Theater also talks of diaspora today. Then you have the Nautanki. There also, that's a part of it. There also have seen people talking about diaspora and the actors being engaged. So why is it that an Indian play or an Indian theatrical performance is taken abroad? I have seen in US and other places that Indian actors go there and they take their small pieces so that they can, and in the universities they come and they replay that, or they on the stage they perform those things, because it appeals to the imagination of those Indians living there or those who are not Indians and yet are interested in this new area of studies. So that's why this is a new area of study, and it has not been that new. It has been there for at least 3 decades more popularly, but it has been there for some time it has been there for some time, and this has made sense to us in the academic world as well as in the cultural world. So I assign great importance to this talk. This is a different kind of a talk one has had in the recent past, lots of it on diaspora. But this was a different kind of, because it opens up a new possibility of looking into it from a different angle. How does a musician, how does a poet who lends himself to musical setting, to the setting on the instruments of the music, and how does a singer's throat and how it's that deep voice brings to us that song? Because some of the songs which Nihaarika was singing, the first one especially by Manna Dey, if I remember right, or some of those singers who are very deep voice singers, I use this word in the beginning also, a deep voice, because it does make an impact on the listeners. So that deep voice matters a little, especially when you are thinking of the diasporic songs, because there is a longing there. There is a yearning there. There is a kind of a separation which makes your life, full of different kinds of meanings. So it gives you several aspects to be able to understand your own self. And from this point of view, I understand that this talk is relevant to me personally, because I and Nilofer and most of us who are students of literature here, not students from theater are there or music are there, Nihaarika is of course there, but I think we can extend our studies, this areas of studies, by taking it on the cultural level. So how on the sociological pattern, how on the cultural pattern, and how on the patterns of other sciences or other arts or other humanities diaspora can be made use of or can be studied from different angles. That is how I thought earlier that diaspora has a very limited way of looking at. We can look at diaspora in a very limited manner because it talks of identity, it talks of history, and there is a full stop, but no longer so. I think that it opens up lots of possibilities for us to explore. This is one new area. Theater is another very interesting area in which diaspora, and film, of course, lots of films are being made, at least a dozen are there, which are important films. I'm talking of the important films. Apart from this, there are quite a few documentaries, and a couple of them I have been able to watch myself. They have not been known very well. At least one film, a short film of an hour or so. It was a typical diaspora film about the longings of the persons in India for a place outside the world. And I think Said Jafri was there in that film. It's a very moving film, and how the young boys reach there and how they are disappointed totally disgruntled, and yet not, because there is no point of return. They can't return home. They have gone there with some aspirations. And there are musical moments there also. So this musical rendition that Nihaarika brought to us, this musical presentation that she brought to us, gives us lots of opportunities to think further. May I therefore suggest that this is not just a talk that she has delivered. This is a talk which has opened for us, the academics and the students and academia, and otherwise also cultural studies students, more importantly, broadly speaking. It opens ways for us to look at it from a different angle. CoHaB would be doing wonderfully well if it thought of this particular area to explore further and to take it to newer directions from which diaspora can be studied and diaspora can be looked at, because there are many ways of looking at it. Like 13 ways of looking at a blackboard, that is Stephen's poem, often remember that there are many ways of looking at any kind of a phenomenon. So if a blackboard can be looked from 13 angles, similarly, diaspora can be looked at more than a dozens of angles. I think some of our participants who are here would like to take it further. If they like, they're most welcome. Or otherwise, Kirti or Nilofer can have their say or speak a word as they wish. It's open for them now.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Anis, for opening up the discussion so much for us and placing it in the theoretical academic context. And I'm sure uh, there will be many ways of looking at it. And we've got many people who have joined in today, and they may be wanting to say, to join in to what you have said. There will be others, but I'm just referring to a few people who are on our platform today. Professor Klaus Stierstoffer, I would like to hear from him. I would like to hear also from our Mauritian diasporic on the platform, our academic Sushila. I would also like to hear from Yulia Raskanu, who has actually done papers recently and in the past on de-diasporization, on the return home as well. And of course, there are other diasporics on board like Feroz Navroji and others. So the floor is really open. If we could hear from you, please, all of you, one by one.
Yeah, ma'am, I already have messages from Professor Gopal. So if she would like to talk personally, or I could read out the message also.
If you could read out the message, and Nihaarika or Anis or anyone else on the platform can respond to it, and then after that,
Please do.
Yes.
Please read out.
Yeah. So Dr. Gopal says Nihaarika ji has shown that songs including lyrics and music can be stronger than the words of the novelists. Thank you. The voice of Nihaarika ji, her singing stirs the soul and brings tears for the homeland. She also says this was one of the most useful and most pleasant lectures, and congratulates Professor Barucha and the team. And she has a question. Would Nihaarika ji agree that in the songs there is a strong element of the bilap concept?
What concept?
Bilap. B-I-L-A-A-P.
Bilak. Could Sushila come online and explain to us what exactly she means by that?
Is it vilap? Is it vilap?
Is it vilap? Sadness, tragedy, or crying? Sushila, if you could please.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, Sushila.
Yes, I think bilap is what you just said, sadness, nostalgia.
Yeah.
And in Mauritius, many people who have come from the northern part of India, they sing bilap. And they used to put their hands behind their ears and sing bilap. So I was wondering whether there is an element of bilap, because in all these songs, there is nostalgia, there is a sort of sadness. There is also at the end, the determination to link strongly with the homeland. So I got interested in the bilap songs, in the bilap concept. And would this be accepted by Nihaarika ji? Would you accept the bilap concept within the diasporic songs?
Nikki, would you like to respond to this?
Yeah, what she's saying is for nostalgia. Yes, most of these songs are nostalgic, but there's also one folk element like Aaja Re Pardesi is actually a very happy song. Like, that. So it can be both ways. It can be nostalgic, sad, and it can be nostalgic happiness also, I think, in both ways. Not only your Bilap is basically a more sad element, right?
Yes, yes.
Bilap is a sad element. But I would say
Yeah.
nostalgia, I would say need not only be sad. There's a happy nostalgia like Ajare Pardesi, they are dancing in the fields. There are so many such happy songs also. So it can be both ways.
Yeah, Nihaarika, I think we have on board Dr. Srivastava, who is a folk specialist and
Yes.
one of your recent
Yes.
if she is still there, she has I think she's done a lot of research in this area. If she could also take this Bilap tradition a little further, Dr. Srivastava, if you are still there. Kirti, is she still there? Dr.
No, I
Srivastava?
don't see her. I don't see her.
Okay,
She was getting cut on and off. So
Yeah.
maybe
getting
some
cut on it.
yeah.
Okay.
I think
Yes.
Shushila made a very interesting point.
Yes,
Thank
absolutely.
This
you.
Bilap idea is a wonderful idea because when there is a parting or a separation, if you say so, there is an element of Bilap. But Nihaarika also made a very interesting point that there's not less of mourning, but more of remembering. But if you remember, there is a pang of separation. This pang of
Yes.
separation, there is a slight line of
Yes.
distinction, a small line of distinction. So it's
And
not mourning as such, but
Yeah.
it's a kind of a separation from home, from the relatives, from the lovers, the scenes, the images of the land. And these images of the land you take back. So there is a huge baggage that you carry. So that way it's Bilap. It's an interesting idea to explore further. I understand this is, but at the same time, as Nihaarika very rightly said, the very happy songs also. Ye Mera India, for example, the tone and tenor of that song, if you look at it, so there is a celebration of India there. And there is another song which I'm forgetting, which is I think that is on the screen. You have Rishi Kapoor singing that, and I'm forgetting the lines of that song. So that is a celebration. So if you go to London, you will often sing the Indians. You will find Indians singing that song with great gusto and great enthusiasm. So both the things are there. On the one hand, there is a sense of mourning, slight mourning, remembrance tinged with separation, idea of separation, but at the same time, celebration also. So while you are there, you celebrate your land. So both the things are going together. You celebrate your land, and that is how you have your Eid and your Diwali there. And you sing those songs on those occasions, and you become a part and parcel as if of India, which is not there with you, but you are becoming a part and parcel of it while being there. So lots of manifestations of these emotions are to be found. But this Bilap idea is a wonderful
Very
idea
good.
to think
Very
about
good.
further
Yeah.
through films and through film
I think
lyrics.
Kirti has got some other questions, or should we ask the other participants to speak up? Kirti, do you have any more questions with you? I don't see Kirti. I don't hear Kirti. Do you
No, I'm
have
here,
any
ma'am.
more people? Huh?
No, ma'am.
Kirti?
She's here.
No.
Ma'am, can you hear me?
Professor Stoffer, Professor Wilson, Feroz Navroji, Dr. Yulia Raskanu, if any of them would like to come in, please do so. Just unmute yourself and speak. I think Feroz has unmuted himself. Would you like to contribute, Feroz?
Yes, thanks.
Yes.
Professor Anis, may I come in?
Please do. Please.
I found this a breakthrough address for our whole series, bringing in a dimension which we had not touched, which we had not been touched by. And this came across in a very beautiful presentation. I found Professor Anis's comments hugely erudite and adding a great deal to Nikki's presentation. The point, I'm looking at it from the diaspora, and in this, I separate Nikki's examples into two. There is the NRI nostalgic part of the diaspora looking back or being pulled by the homeland, as Nikki said. And that, but there is another way of being outside India, and that was the exile, the person who is not there because he is chosen to leave India. He's earning a livelihood. This is a forced departure, a departure which is mingled with a tremendous amount of political events, nationalism, and feeling inside. And there I was delighted by the two examples of the Kabuliwala. He is not just earning a living and the dried fruit that he's carrying, and I go back to Tagore and the relationships that he builds in India, but that there are events in Afghanistan which force people out. I was delighted, Nikki, with your inclusion of Savarkar's verse, because here that political aspect, that nationalistic aspect comes in a way which is so different from the NRI. This is something bigger. This is something more deep in India's history and recent history, which is still impacting on India. So a tremendous lecture, delightful for us. We enjoyed this tremendously. Thank you, Nikki, very much. And Anis, thank you for the tremendous addition that you brought as well. Welcome.
Thank you so much for your kind observations.
Thank
Thanks
you.
a lot. Others might like to share their opinions.
Yes, if Professor Klaus or Janet or Anika or Yulia would like to share anything, we would be great. It'd be great to hear them.
Yeah, Yulia has sent a message. She had to leave because of her class.
I think Professor Stierstoffer is unmuted.
Yes.
I've also been trying to raise my virtual hand, but I'm not sure this worked.
Virtual hand.
Now we see it.
And I have to take it down again, otherwise. How do I take it down again?
It's all right. You can.
They're audible. Yes, you can.
Okay.
It's all right.
Well, thank you so much, Nikki. This was a wonderful performance.
Thank you.
And really revealing in so many ways. Of course, I'm not a musicologist at all, and can't comment on the scholarly side or from a scholarly side from that angle. But for us on the literary studies side and specializing in this context in diasporic literature, I think it does open an entirely new, both interdisciplinary but also literary field. I mean, the interface between music and literature is quite important and has always been. You know, some people would say music comes from literature. I've just checked in 2017, there was a German handbook to literature and music, which of course does not mention diaspora at all. But this could open to us an entirely new and open field to check on how literature and music interface. in diasporic contexts. And what we learned from you, Nikki, about music in the diasporic context would, of course, for us be a musicological or cultural studies approach to diaspora, but it could also lead us as literary studies people, most of us are, to having a closer look on the importance of what happens in music and in between music and literature in this interface in the specific diasporic contexts. And you know, we could more or less start by ticking off the questions that have been asked in a general way in about this interface, which is a very long list. For example, in this handbook, which I have in front of me, which I won't read out to you now, but it could be a guide. And there's a lot of work open there, which I don't think has been opened up much recently at all. You know, we're talking of intermediality, and you can talk about literature in music, about music in literature, about music as metaphor, about the characters coming from music within literature, and so on. So it's really a very big field, which seems to open up for us here. And I think that was a very productive meeting. And I won't come on again, so I have my final say now. My final say would be, can we have an encore at the end? Let's say of your favorite song, Nikki.
Thank you, Dr. Klaus, for your kind comments. Thank you so much for your encouragement.
Yeah, and I think what you are saying, Klaus, it really opens up a new area which we need to explore at CoHaB, and we can draw in more people. We are already doing a lot of intersectional, interdisciplinary work with law and literature. So this opens up yet another very fruitful area. And as Anis said, the connection between image and sound as well, and the written word, the image and the sound, the three-way triangulation that we speak about in law, literature, and diaspora. We can have a similar triangulation of disciplines and interests and research areas as far as music and films and diaspora is concerned. I think we
agree. This is an area to explore further.
Yeah, absolutely.
Klaus has made point, which is she's raising hands. Sushila is raising. She wants to say something.
Her hand,
May I add something?
Please do.
Building on what Professor Klaus said, I have a book here, a novel, The Sound of Secrecy. The Sound of Secrecy. It is by Indrani Talukdar. And she has built a whole novel, which is set in a campus, in a university campus, where there are schools of music, School of Music, and other different schools. And she has merged the different tal and the different rags with events happening in the novel. I found it very interesting, and maybe somebody could work on it. The Sound of Secrecy by Indrani Talukdar.
Okay.
I'm sure Kirti has made a note of it for our library.
I will send the whole reference.
Please. And if Janet or Yulia has left, I think if Anika is still there, if she would like to join in, Anika McPherson is here. Anyone else, please.
And I think Dr. Srivastav is trying to join in. She has messaged. She's trying to join in. She's trying to join in.
And
we have a question from Jaina.
Yes. Can you see it, Nikki, or will Kirti?
No, I can't see.
Please read out the question, Kirti, if you have before you.
She first has thanked Nihaarika for the wonderful musical presentation. She would like to know what you think of the varying role of the beats in the songs. For instance, do you think they act as an oscillating force that evoke a biorhythmic connection and sonic sovereignty between the Indian diasporas? and those residing in India. Could you elaborate on the different types of beats used in any of the songs that you sung and their role in evoking particular kinds of nationalisms?
Yeah, like in that Kabuliwala song, that rabab, which is a musical instrument, it evokes that pathos, and the beats also, it is at a slower pace, whereas Ajare Pardesi is with the dholaks and at a faster folk type of, beats which are there. So those beats are also evoking one side pathos and one side happiness. And as Dr. Anishji has said, that thin line between that happiness, but which is mingled with a bit of sadness, also nostalgia. So beats definitely make a difference in evoking the emotions of the song.
And if I might add to what Nihaarika has said, the beat is literally the beating of the blood in your system. It's the heart.
Yes.
It's a heartbeat.
Yes.
And that, of course, is, as you rightly said, it's nostalgia, memory, and the longing, happy, sad, whatever. So the beat of the drum is always the beat of the blood through the human body, the beat.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
the basic, absolute biorhythm that Jaina is talking about. And that,
Right.
that can be seen as a metaphor for the beating of the diasporic heart, for the old homeland, or the pull of the old homeland on the diaspora. The diasporic heart always beats for India. And of course, you go back to somebody like Cornelia Sorabji, who also says, India calling, it's always India calling. So that's the beat. Thank you, Jaina, for a wonderful thing. And of course, the beat can be used to drum up emotions as well. It's not just something which rises from within. It can be sort of created in the atmosphere, which can be for various purposes. So yes, the beat of the drum is very, very important. Very, very important. And the folk music, if Srivastava ji has managed to join in, we would love to hear from her about the importance of the beat.
Has managed to join?
Yeah.
Kirti, has she joined?
She's
joined her.
Connecting to audio.
She has joined in.
Yeah, the beat of
she has joined in.
Yeah, the importance of the beating of the drum in folk music and how it connects to a very, very primeval human emotions. If she's there, we would love to hear from her.
Yeah, she has joined in, I think.
Yeah. Thank you, Jaina, for this very interesting question.
Could she just start the audio, because
the audio.
Just phone her.
No, she's. I think we are seeing someone else, not Shailesh.
Yeah, somebody else.
Yeah. So
tell her to switch on her audio, if not her
just
video.
The audio.
She can hear us. She has not started her audio.
Okay, all right. If somebody else in the meantime would like to comment.
Is here. Shailesh is here, it seems.
Yeah. Give her a little moment, because this is an important aspect of the beat.
Yeah, there she is joined in.
I don't know if you heard our question. We're talking about the importance of the beat in music, in diaspora films and songs. And you, as a musicologist who specializes in folk music, if you could, it's a primeval beat, the heartbeat, the drums. I think she's still.
It's interesting, yeah.
Shailesh ji, boliye, please.
She's not put on her this thing. I think. She's settling in.
Yeah, she's settling in.
We have a couple of comments from.
Yes.
Anika says.
Yes, Anika.
Yeah. If Anika, would you like to unmute and talk about it, or should I read it out?
Or is Shailesh ji ready before Anika starts?
Yeah.
Shailesh ji, Nikki, can you ring up Shailesh ji and see if she's ready to speak? Because she'll have to unmute herself. This technology sometimes really is a little problem.
1 minute.
Anika, if you could hold on, please, because the question was directed to Shailesh Srivastava, the musicologist.
Yeah, she has left anyway, Anika. So I'll read out what she has left as a comment.
Okay, that will do.
Yeah, hello, ma'am. Just come on, no, with the audio. We can only see the video. Aap zara audio bhi on kijiye.
सुनाई नहीं दे रहा है, but Kirti, she is not able to hear. She is saying.
She will
How
have
come
to
she has?
join the audio. She will have to join the audio on the.
No, you have not joined the audio. You have to join the audio.
In the bottom left-hand corner, there will be a
In
mic
the bottom left hand, there is
symbol. So she just
bottom left hand.
call over internet.
Bottom left hand.
Today, the audio defeated, the video defeated Nihaarika, but we could hear you.
She is joining. She is joining.
Connecting,
Yes,
connecting.
ma'am. She is
Yes,
joining
connecting.
in. Connecting. Fine.
Yes, Shaileshji. Hear from you about the
She's
importance of the beat.
She has to unmute first.
You have to.
No, she has not
Yeah,
yet
she-
connected to the audio. She's just trying to connect.
Fine.
Shaileshji, audio, please.
Yeah, it's saying connecting to audio. It's saying connecting.
Yeah, but it's not still connected.
It's just going on saying connecting.
No, it could be problem with the range.
It could be a problem. Could be a problem. Okay, can we hear from Anika's question in the meantime?
Yeah, so there's no question as such. She just said, thank you so much for these insights. She has a bad connection and has to leave for another meeting. But as somebody working in both cultural and literary studies, she greatly appreciates the contributions and sees many opportunities for connection. Also regarding current shifts in the representation of the diaspora and current streaming media, which she's presently working on. So
I think Kirti, just connect with Dr. Srivastavji. She's giving a wave out hand. Just connect with her. Phone her, please. There's a wave out hand.
Yeah. I'll talk to her.
She's waving out here.
Janet, if you have, because you have been, you've had research students who have worked on diaspora films, etc. If you would like to share anything of, or if you see some ways in which we could take this further, as Professor Klaus and Anis and others, we have been thinking, Sushila has been talking about it. We would appreciate your ideas, Janet. And there is Abhishek Gokhale who might want to say something. Mr. Gokhale, if you could hang on, if you are still there, if you would like to say something, we'd love to hear from you. Is Shaileshji is having some problems. So, yes, Janet.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm so sorry. I came in a bit late, so I've missed a bit of the lecture, but I think the conversation is very productive, and I really like the idea of this multimedia approach where we look at both words and visual imagery and sound. And I think this is a very useful way to think further about diaspora cultural production. So I agree with what Klaus has said. And I wish I could say more about the music of Bollywood film, but you know, the idea of the drum and the heartbeat being one and one is a very compelling one. My own students have really looked more at visuals and not at sound effects and at music. And I think that this is an under-researched area if you're thinking of talking about the media of diaspora cultures. And the more it can be linked up to other types of affect that come through the written word or the spoken word, oral effects and visual effects, you know, the more you can start to appreciate the synesthesia of impressions that come through Bollywood film. So I'm sorry I don't have much of any interest to say, but I've enjoyed the discussion and a little bit that I heard of your talk. I'm happy to hear further from the discussion, actually.
Yes, thanks, Janet. As you rightly said, it's an under-researched area. And
definitely, yeah.
Really work on that. And I think maybe Shaileshji is ready to speak.
Yes.
Madam, can you unmute yourself, Madam? Corner, left-hand corner.
Yeah. I've requested her to unmute.
Yeah, she's still muted because now we can see her properly. And
she would have got a message saying host has unmuted. So if you could just unmute, ma'am.
Kirti, can you unmute him? Can you
Yes,
unmute her from your end? Oh yes.
yes, we can hear you. Go ahead, please.
Now you are listening me?
Yes, 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 please.
Sir, thank you, Anisul Rahman sir. Adab.
Adab, adab.
It was very nice discussion to listen to you, and the topic is very nice. And Nihaarika, everybody has spoken very well.
Madam, the heartbeat and the drum, if you could, as a folk music researcher, because you couldn't hear us, I think that's what we would like to hear from you. There's a question about the importance of the beat in the songs of nostalgia, Bilap, Bides tradition. What is the role that the beating of the drums would play? And we were talking about the heartbeat and the running of the blood through the veins, the beat of the blood through the veins.
Kirti ji, your question has lots of mean, and we can say a lot. The God has given us the beautiful beat, which is the pulse beat. Huh?
Yeah, the pulse beat.
Oh, very well said. Yes, yes.
Yes, absolutely.
अगर ये थोड़ी सी भी गड़बड़ होती है, if it goes little down or little up, हमारी life, हमारी जिंदगी, we met lot of problem, lot of diseases and all the things. So the first beautiful music is our beat, pulse rates, and what we take breathe is a good sound given by the God. So in music, the beat played very vital role. Here our film music, as I listened, Nihaarika was mentioning कि हमारे गानों में कितनी मेलोडी, कितनी अच्छी बातें कही जाती थी. पहले गाने सुनकर फिल्म के म्यूजिक को हमारा दिल धड़कता था, हमारी आत्मा नाचती थी. आज के म्यूजिक को जब हम सुनते हैं तो वेस्टर्नाइजेशन के असर के होने की वजह से, वेस्टर्नाइज्ड होने की वजह से ज्यादा हमारे पैर थिरकते हैं. What I feel. कहाँ तो आपका मन खुश होता था, इटर्नल आपको हैप्पीनेस होती थी. अब आप एक्सटर्नल होते हैं ज्यादा, इटर्नल नहीं होते. Which is the great loss of our music, I can say. And we have beats, lots of style of the beats. The tribal beats are totally different. Folk beats are totally different. Western beats are totally different, as well as the Indian. We sing lot of semi-classical style songs. There was different talas and beats. And the light music used to be certain beats. Ghazal used to be certain tala and the beats. So India has a lot of variety into the beats, I can say. As per the occasion, as per the festival, as per our rituals, we use the different beats in different songs. Without beats and without tal, we cannot imagine our life. Even nature, ये आप कभी विंड को महसूस करिए, हवा को, कभी नदी की लहर को महसूस करिए, उसमें भी बीट्स होती है. Isn't it?
Yes.
Very true, very true.
True,
Right?
true.
So we have blessed by our Almighty God. He has given us so many things, and the Lord Shiva is the creator of the word Tala and the Swaras, so that we can express our expression in a good, excellent manner, which animals cannot. But nowadays, we are going for the WhatsApp and the Facebook media. So we are missing all the things. The result is in front of us. So many people are going depression, and other disease. And they're using the Alexa or mother in the life to laugh us. Alexa, please tell us some jokes so that we can laugh. Where we are going,
I think Shailesh, you brought in this absolutely fascinating primeval thing of the pulse beat. That's the basic beat. Yes. And the way, and you took us to the cosmic beat of Shiva's Lord Shiva's Damru,
Damru.
which is the cosmic beat. I think
Yes.
excellent points. We'll go on to another question now, but we would love to hear more from Shailesh.
Nilofer, I would like to mention one thing.
Yes.
You know, silent has the bigger sound. Silent is bigger sound, comparatively sound. In our cosmos, one sound is all time going on, which is called in our music language अनहत नाद, जो योगी लोग जिसको सुनते हैं, जिसकी साधना करते हैं. Early morning, when we make our voice practice for classical music musicians, early morning बोले तो 3:30 and 4 o'clock. That time, if we sing, we feel a different aroma, a different word. We go sometime in trance. वहां से वापस आना मुश्किल होता है. अपनी आवाज को सुनते हैं तो बहुत ही आनंद आता है. नीलो.
I think very interesting philosophical issues are being raised now. At this point, with the Shailesh ji's input, the whole discourse is becoming more philosophical and more mystical, I would say. Because when you talked of beats, I was just thinking not only of the pulse beat, but the heartbeat as well, which goes together. And I wrote at some place that we are all in the midst of music, right from birth to death. That is the sentence I started that myself once. That is, when there is a birth in the family, there are songs. There are certain kind of beats in that song. And when there is a death also, then there is a musical.
While timing of the birth of the baby, we sing the soha.
Exactly. So every bit of our life is punctuated by beats and beats and beats.
Yes.
And they vary so much. They vary so much, and they're so substantial.
Last journey of the life, we sing the Nirgun Bhajan.
Exactly. So you have brought up an issue which is so important for us to think about rather than to talk. It needs to be thought about further, because this beats and actually punctuates our life and makes it meaningful.
Yes.
Thank you for making this point of the pulse, and my thinking of it along with the heartbeats. And then wherever you are, if you are in the waiting lounge, if you are in the mall, there is music somewhere, something is going on. Depends on what you like and what you don't like. So there is beat in the footsteps, the way you walk and the way you move, and you are thrilled from inside. So lots of things that you can think about. Wonderful addition. I think this was a wonderful addition. Wonderful point that you made.
Thanks. Janet Wilson is not telling anything.
She had said something which was interesting.
Kitty, do you have any?
You know, that's a very interesting observation, Anna Sir. And you know, it reminds me of E.M. Foster and The Passage to India. You know, where is it Mrs. Quested? Not Adele Quested. The mother goes into the cave and hears the dark beat.
Yeah.
And it's so, and you know, this is so much a misconception. Well, not a misconception, but it is somehow a Western perception of the East as having been synchronized to a single om and a single sound. And for the West, you know, it is so terrifying. So I think Foster really captured something there about the difference between the East and the West. I mean, in Western thinking, these ideas of synchronization around actually, they're not so much a meditative moment, to my mind, and my understanding as they are in the East. But, you know, this is just an outside observation, but that's immediately what I started to think about, that in Passage to India, hearing or perceiving something like a centralized beat of the universe was terrifying for the English woman. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you, Janet.
Well made point.
And in fact, when Anis, if I can, with your permission, just add something to what
please do.
Shailesh was talking about this early morning sounds, and it's completely different, and that's when you do your riyaz. Just today, I've been following the Mars rover, the new Perseverance, which has landed on Mars, and it has sent back the sounds from Mars, and that I I found absolutely functional sound, the universal sound that Shailesh spoke about with Lord Shiva and the Damru, and what Janet brought up with the universal Om, the primeval sound. So it was fascinating, the sounds that we have been talking about. Maybe, are there any other questions, Kirti? Does Abhishek want to say anything?
No, we don't have any questions, ma'am, but if you would like to unmute and talk.
If anybody would like to speak up, because otherwise we could wind up. But if there are some points anybody would like to raise, we will be happy to hear them. Yes, Sushila? Sushila, unmute yourself, please.
You hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
This is the famous Apudarai, Arjun Apudarai. He has divided the diaspora of the world into different scapes, not landscapes, but scapes. And one is the technoscape. And I think Nihaarika ji occupies a major space in that technological scape. She has brought so much enjoyment, but also so much clarity in the appreciation of the diasporic songs. She must be included in that techno space. Thank you.
Sushila. Is there anyone else who'd like to say something? Would Parveen Shivji like to say something? Unmute herself and speak, because I can just see this view as of now. But if there are others, they are most welcome. If not, could we request the chair, the privilege of the chair, to wind up the Q&A session, and then Kirti could propose the vote of thanks.
Oh, yes. Having listened to Nihaarika and after that, the discussion that went along with that, I personally feel very enriched. As many of the friends have said here, that this is a new area that we've explored today. So far, we have been talking more in literary arena and trying to explore Indian diasporic representations in a variety of ways in poetry and prose and fictional terms. As it has been said by several of us, and it has been very pertinently mentioned, that this opens up an area of a study that takes the diasporic studies into newer areas, and newer areas will be annexed to this, and we shall be doubly and triply enriched by looking into it from different angles. I would personally consider this session to be a very enriching one for all of us, if I might say, but personally for me, it has been an enriching one. Because as I said earlier, that I thought that diaspora studies is very limited. What else do you think they're about, except for memories and representations of memories? But now that when you look at it from different angles, there are so many new ways of looking at it. So I personally am very indebted to Nihaarika ji for giving this talk to us, and to CoHaB for organizing this event today, and to all the participants who took time out to join us from wherever time zones they belong to, and to my old friend Nilofer, who is so very enthusiastic, and Kirti, of course. Without her, it's not possible. And both of them have been hand in hand going together and moving miles to make diaspora a living kind of a reality for us in terms of research and further studies. I can't express my gratitude to you both more especially, rather than, and also, of course, the listeners who are here, because I find a new set of listener every time here, but there are some who are all the time there. That also shows how committed they are to the whole idea of this diasporic studies that you have been carrying forward for several months now, especially during this pandemic and when you have had this online or virtual sessions. So thanks a lot for giving me this opportunity to be with you and to be able to share my thoughts, but more importantly, listening to you and to Nihaarika. Thanks a lot. looking forward to better and another sessions when we can meet again virtually, and the day will come when we will not meet virtually. We will not be satisfied with this alone. We'll meet somewhere sometime, most probably in Mumbai, and have much more detailed discussions and being together for a couple of days to revive our old friendships and to engage with ideas which are in waiting to be explored. Thanks a lot, Kirti. Thanks a lot, Nilofer, and everyone else at CoHaB.
Thank you, Anis. Kirti, I think the speaker has been left out. She wants to join.
Yeah, I am trying to coordinate with her. If you see me looking down, I'm just trying to coordinate with Nikki ma'am to just, So she is in, but she's unable to hear us or see us. Probably some network related issue.
Okay, network issues.
Yeah.
So then, if she is able to join in before the end of your vote of thanks, we will see her. Otherwise,
it is coming a network bandwidth.
Yes, Nihaarika, we can hear you. Okay. Nihaarika, we can hear you. Would you like to say a few words before we end? Nihaarika, would you like to say just a few sentences before we end? Otherwise, we are closing the session.
Thank you very much, Kirti ji, Nihaarika ji, and Anusur, and Sushila, and Janet.
Thank you, Shailesh.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Nikki, would you like to say anything? Can you do it? Otherwise, we will close the session with Kirti's vote of thanks.
No, I think she's not able to hear. So,
yeah, Kirti, please go ahead.
So, thank you so much, Nihaarika ma'am, for this enriching session, because even I was wondering how the text and the songs would go hand in hand, but it came out beautifully. And as ma'am said, even I'm not even a bathroom singer, so this is something I really look up to, those who can sing. Very nice. I enjoyed. Professor Rahman, thank you so much for chairing the session, and your inputs were so valuable to this session, and you are right about continuing this for further research. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you to our Vice Chancellor for giving us the permission to use this Zoom platform for conducting these sessions, which he has done in the past as well. Thank you, sir. Our UCC Computer Center people, Sunit More, who was the point of contact for me for this session, who was very prompt, and he started the session on time and without any glitches. So thank you, the Computer Center, for giving us this support in every webcast that we have had. And last but not the least, our participants who have joined us from different parts of the world in spite of the varying time zones that they are in and have made it here. Thank you so much for joining us. It was a great pleasure to have all of you on this platform together.
Thanks.
Thank you.